And the race is on in California today as Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom faces a recall election for control of America's largest state. Voters have two questions to consider. Do they want to recall Governor Gavin Newsom? And if so, who do they want to replace him? ABC reporter Zohreen Shah and our chief national correspondent Matt Gutman are here to break down the state of that race and what's at stake. So, Zohreen, I'll start with you. What's the mood in the Newsom camp right now?
Hi, Diane. Yeah, you know what? They think they're going to win. A Newsom staffer told reporters yesterday there is no scenario where we lose. I spoke to a top Newsom strategist just this morning, and he said, look, we painted a very clear picture. He says behind door number one is sanity. Behind door number two is Trump. And if you were listening to the governor and the president last night in Long Beach, you heard the name Trump about a dozen times. They hardly spoke the name Larry Elder. And in fact, Biden even said Larry Elder is a clone of Donald Trump. Look, his staff is not trying to project the numbers tonight, but I did speak to Arnold Schwarzenegger's former comms director, Rob Stutzman, just a few minutes ago, and he says he feels really positive about Newsom winning. I asked him, I said, do you think it's going to be a blowout? He says blowout is built into this state. This is one of the bluest states in the country. If turnout is high, he expects it to be a very, very large win. And look, it was not always this way. Newsom's supporters and his staff did not always feel this confident. In fact, when they looked at the landscape just several months ago, they realized they had a problem, not a persuasion problem, an awareness problem. So they set out to spend tens of millions of dollars on this election, sending out millions of text messages, millions of phone calls, and bringing out those heavy hitters. You've seen those ads with Barack Obama, with Bernie Sanders, and then they started bringing out everyone else, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Vice President Kamala Harris, and then last night, the biggest Democrat of them all, the president, and he spoke on behalf of Biden. So they certainly don't think that they have an issue at this point. When you look at those numbers coming in, about 30%, more than 30% of the vote is already in. When I sat down, if you're wondering what the mood is with just Newsom, when I saw him just last week in that exclusive interview, he told me after that interview, he said, you know what, after this, in just a couple months, I have to start preparing for the next debates, for next year's race. He does not think that he's going to lose this thing.
And Matt, we're hearing already claims from some Republicans, including former President Trump, already the notion that this election has been rigged. This appears to be the go-to move for Republicans. They only want to accept the results of elections that their guy wins, which sounds farcical and childish, but is actually dangerous. Now, you talked to the Republican frontrunner in this race in California, talk show host Larry Elder. What does he say about these claims by Trump and others that the election is going to be rigged?
The short answer is, Terry, he doesn't say. The long answer is this meandering explanation that I'm not going to get into. But I asked him specifically, do you have a single shred of evidence indicating any kind of voter fraud now or expected voter fraud? And he completely went on this meandering journey through the history of the 2016 presidential elections. And I won't bore you with the details. But Larry Elder has set up a website a couple days ago, Fight California Election Fraud. They are already on top of this. They are preparing fraud before it even happened. And this, as you said, is basically the go-to for the Republican Party in elections like these. And in many ways, Newsom's victory is baked in. You just heard Zohreen talk about it. Democratic voters outnumber Republican voters 2-1 in this state. If they get a significant turnout, and it looks like they are already, they're going to win this. It's mathematically improbable for them not to. What's really remarkable is how far Larry Elder was able to take this. This was just a sideshow a few months ago. Obviously, the push towards a recall and its petition to get there got a lot of momentum in November 2020. Gavin Newsom seen at the French Laundry, one of the most expensive restaurants in the country, violating the COVID restrictions that he instituted with a group of people. That really upset people, and it turned them off against him, and it accelerated the pace of this petition. In May, it was passed, and in July, Larry Elder seemed to have Gavin Newsom on the ropes, which was astounding given that Newsom won by 62% of the vote. Now it doesn't look like Larry Elder has much of a chance anymore. His folks say they are still confident, they're still going to fight, but no exact details on what this purported and baseless fraud might be. One note to add, we're at this election headquarters in Orange County, and the folks here and the Secretary of State of California is saying there is no evidence whatsoever. It hasn't happened. Everything is absolutely clean and fair so far. Terry.
Well, yeah, Matt, I love that picture behind you because it shows the experience most of us have had when we vote in person, which is that it's our neighbors. They aren't fraudsters. Yeah, they're conspirators in some vast global conspiracy. These are people in every precinct in the country, certainly in the state there with this recall election. Tell us how the process is going. You say there's no hiccups in turnout. How do you feel the election is going there?
Well, what we're told from the Secretary of State and officials here locally in Orange County is that everything is fine. This is one of the safest election systems in the country in California. They say it's the safest, but I haven't verified that. They're extremely confident that this is fair. Now, one of the things that has triggered upset on the Republican side about the issue of fairness is the mail-in ballots. The vast majority of votes are being mailed in. This is not absentee. This is every registered and active voter in the state gets a ballot by mail. All you have to do is fill in one dot if you want. That's no on the recall, or yes plus the candidate, and you send it in. And some people say that that makes the system rife for fraud. Again, no indication of that whatsoever, and only the indication so far that Gavin Newsom is very likely going to win this race.
And Zoreen, President Biden campaigned with Newsom last night, which just goes to show how important he thinks, and the Democrats in general think, this election is. Does the fact that we're even having this recall spell trouble for Democrats nationally? What's at stake here?
Yeah, Diane, that's a good question. It goes back to that awareness issue, right? I mean, they feared, the Newsom team feared, that Democrats just simply didn't know much about this recall process. They were afraid that the angriest people would show up. In fact, I asked Newsom when I sat down with him just a few months ago, I said, are you afraid that the angriest people are going to be the ones turning up for this recall? Look, special recalls in California don't get a lot of turnout, a high turnout. But his team, they were looking at the numbers just last week, and they were comparing it to the numbers coming in for the 2020 general presidential election. So they feel confident now. But you ask a great question. Does it show fear? They were fearful of awareness, and now they feel like they have that awareness.
All right, Doreen Shah and Matt Gutman, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.